مين حفظ الفيرس من امبارح؟ حد حافظ الفيرس ولا نسيناه؟ مع انه يوم فطار النهارده ما كناش فول. طيب نراجع مع بعض مع بعض. Why snap shop down but sanctify the Lord God in your hearts and always be ready to give a defense to everyone who asks you a reason for the hope that is in you with meekness and fear. 1 Peter 3:15. 1 Peter 3:15. Well, you remember it. Can I have it one more time on your own? And then George has to start straight away because he's got a lot in his plate today for you. Okay? Why snap champagne? No. You've just been outside screaming and your voices has been all over the place. Okay? Again. Why snap champagne? That's better. The Lord God. Our heart and always be ready to give a defense to everyone who asks you a reason for the hope that is in you with meekness and fear. 1 Peter 3:15. 1 Peter 3:15. Sorry, can we repeat it one more time because some people are getting confused in the first bit and we don't want it to stuck up there in the wrong way. Right? Why? Snap, champagne, but sanctify the Lord God in your hearts and always be ready to give a defense to everyone who asks you a reason for the hope that is in you with meekness and fear. 1 Peter 3:15. 1 Peter 3:15. Thank you very much, and let's do the sign of the cross in the name of the Father, and of the Son, of the Holy Spirit, one God, amen.
Hello everyone, good morning. We'll continue on with where we left off. But before we continue, I want to, just like we did yesterday, a spiritual message. And then I call it the message before the message. Okay? So we add a little bit of spiritual flavors, and then we delve back into the subject of the existence of God. The spiritual message we had last night was on how we can fully express our love to the Lord by loving one another. Perfect. Here's the message of this morning. I want to teach you this morning a new kind of math. A new kind of math. Okay? This is the new Christian kind of math. You can add by subtracting, and you can multiply by dividing. That's a new math. And let me explain. Okay? With material possessions, when material possessions are shared with others, what happens to them? They decrease. But when spiritual possessions, i.e. virtues, are shared with others, they increase. Meaning, if I have $20 or 20 euros, okay, and I share it with some of you, I will end up having less money. But if I have love, and I share it with some of you, I will end up having more love. Materialistic possessions, when shared, decrease in value. I have less. But spiritual possessions, virtues, when shared, they increase, and I will end up having more. So what's the message? In giving, we end up receiving. That's the message of this morning. Actually, it's a new kind of math. Like I said, we add by subtracting, we multiply by dividing. Okay, let's move on to the subject of last night. Does God exist? And we said there are four options or four explanations. No, I'm sorry, forgive me. We said there are three questions, or two questions we discussed. Where did the universe come from? There are four options. What are the options? Nothing, made itself, eternal, or created. And we said it can't come from nothing, because nothing comes from nothing. Nothing ever will. And if you watch The Sound of Music, this is what Julie Andrews sings and says. You watched it? That's exactly right. So I agree with her. Nothing comes from nothing. Second option, is it self-made? Can't make itself because it must exist prior to itself. Third option, science had proven that it's not eternal, that the universe had a beginning in time. Well, then we're left with the fourth option, that it was created. I haven't said yet that it was created by God. I will get into that point in a second. But I just want to take you through a methodical journey, step by step, so that you can arrive to the conclusion yourself. We also asked the question, where did life come from? The law of biogenesis says life can only come from other living sources. Life cannot come from non-life. So now we come to some objections. Of course, we need to answer those objections. The first one is, well, you say God created everything. Who then created God? And I want to pause and ask you, when I'm sure you were asked this question, or you probably pondered this question, what would you say? Raise your hand. Tell me, who created God? Yes, sir.
Oh, sorry. God isn't biological, he's an entity, therefore he's maintained forever. But the human mind can't conceptualize eternity, so it's really hard for us to grasp that.
All right, y'all get that? That was very good. Well said. Well said. Very good. Why else? Good point. He can't be created, but why? Very good. So we believe in the uncreated God, or as Aristotle called it or him, the unmoved mover. Okay, this is what okay, yes? How can the creator create himself? That's the question that you're supposed to answer. Okay, so are you saying that no one created him because he's the creator? Okay, good. I see your point. Good point. What else? Huh? He would be a limited God, just like Abuna said. By definition, God is infinite, unlimited, and, as you said, uncreated, because he's the creator. Okay. When you say God, well, let me go step by step. Any other comments on or suggestions? Who created God? Okay. Here's, I'm trying to simplify this as much as possible without diluting the meaning. Only things that had a beginning are caused or created. Only things that had a what? And I think you may have touched on that. That had a beginning. Well, only things that are caused are made or created. But by definition, as Abuna said, God had no beginning. Well, why did he have no beginning? Because he's beyond space and time. We are space-time bound creatures. We live in this space-time continuum. But God doesn't. He's beyond space and beyond time. He's timeless and spaceless. Because he's beyond time and space, he has no beginning. And if he has no beginning, he cannot be caused. If you recall the first premise of the cosmological argument, which said that the universe had a beginning, and the universe, because it had a beginning, it was caused. Therefore, it was caused by a first cause. The argument states that the universe had a beginning, therefore it was caused. If we can prove that the universe is eternal, then the universe could have actually been God itself. But it had a beginning in time. God, on the other hand, is eternal. So, because he's beyond time, he's uncaused. He's, as Aristotle called him, the unmoved mover. Let me give you other examples. Here's the beyond time concept. Beyond time means that he is not subject to the law of causality or a cause and effect relationship. Without time, there's no cause and effect. There's no change. God cannot be the effect of a cause because there's no time during which an effect comes from a cause. Because he's timeless, he's beyond time. And if you're timeless, you don't have a beginning. Let me explain it in a different way. Everything that exists in this world can be categorized in two categories. Put in two buckets. Matter or mind. Material or immaterial. Aql or madda. Okay? These are the only, no third category. So, either mind is eternal or matter is eternal, because one must have created the other. Either matter created mind and preceded it, or mind preceded matter and created it. مش كده? One or the other. One caused the other to exist. Well, let's think. We know that matter had a beginning. Then it couldn't have caused mind to exist. Number one. Number two. Matter could not have created mind. Why is that? Because matter does not have a will to create, whereas mind wills to create and create into existence. In other words, عارفين يعني ايه الإرادة؟ الجماد المادة ما عندهاش إرادة إنها تخلق، إنما العقل عنده إرادة إنه يخلق. You see? That's why mind created matter. Therefore, mind has always existed before matter. And that's the eternality of the mind. This mind is actually referred to in the scriptures as what? Or who, rather? The Logos. Who said that? Yes. I love that you moved up. Thank you. The Logos. This is what St. John referred to in his first verse, in his gospel. In the beginning was the Word. Although, if you do some research in etymology and studies in Greek mythology, word is a very poor translation of Logos. Logos actually means a lot more than word. And if you study also theology, in Arabic, any of you heard of Aql Allah al-Natiq wa Nutq Allah al-Aql? You see? Again, that is accurate, but the actual meaning of word is very, dilutes the meaning of Logos. Logos in Greek mythology, and this is what St. John was referring to, means truth, fire, life, and a lot of other things into that just one word, logos. Okay? And that's the mind who created everything else. That's why he could not have been created by matter. All right. Here's what Stephen Hawking said. Again, many people do not like the idea that time has a beginning, probably because it smacks of divine intervention. But time did have a beginning. Some verses from the scriptures. Therefore, do not be ashamed, 2 Timothy, of the testimony of our Lord according to his own purpose and grace, which was given to us in Christ Jesus when? Before time began. John 17, Father, I desire that they also whom you gave me may be with me where I am, that they may behold my glory, which you have given me. For you loved me before the foundation of the world. And here's another verse in Psalm 90, everlasting to everlasting you are God. So many verses in the scriptures that point to the timelessness of God. God is beyond time, He's uncreated, He's unmade. Here's how the question sounds when you think about it. It is God bless you, it's a self-refuting question. It refutes itself. You know why? Have you ever thought of this question? Who is the bachelor's wife? What kind of question is that? Someone is desperate to get in. Who's the bachelor's wife? Well, okay, just can you answer the question? Of course you can't, because the question itself is illogical. Or if he's a bachelor, he's not married, and if he's not married, he doesn't have a wife. So what kind of question is that? It's a self-destructive question. مش كده? So it's like asking who created the uncreated? Who created the uncreated? The uncreated. You see? Just like Abuna said, God is uncreated. Who created the uncreated? Who's the bachelor's wife? So think about it. The question itself is invalid. I love to talk about the timelessness of God, and we can have hours of discussions on the timelessness of God. But I wanted to pause because I would like to link, I'm a huge fan, we all should be, we all are, I'm sure, of the Eucharist and the liturgy. And I would like to tie everything that we do with the most important act of worship that we do, which is the liturgy, which we just celebrated now, a couple of hours ago. I want to share with you something about the timelessness of God and how during the liturgy, we all move beyond that element and dimension of time. Do you know when? I'll share with you when. The priest says a prayer. If you really think about it, you think he's missing something, or it doesn't make sense, or Abuna is mistaken. You know the prayer that says, فَفِيمَا نَحْنُ أَيْضًا نَصْنَعْ ذِكْرَ أَلَانِهِ? Okay? Therefore, as we commemorate His holy passion and so on and so forth, let's take it step by step. When he says, therefore, as we commemorate, what does that mean? Something that happened in the past. مش كده؟ ففيما نحن نصنع ذكرى بتذكر حاجة في الماضي. مش كده؟ And then see what he says. His holy what? Passion. Did it happen in the past? Yes. His what? Resurrection. Did it happen in the past? Yes. His ascension. His sitting at the right hand of his Father. And his second coming. Hold on, Abuna. I think you messed up. How can we commemorate something that hasn't happened yet? Think with me. Did anybody raise their hand during the liturgy and say, Abuna, you're messing up? No. You can't. They can't, of course. But you know why we're commemorating something that we think happened in the past? Because during the liturgy, everything had just happened from beginning to end. We're living in what's called the eternality of time. Or basically we're raised, not just moved, raised beyond time, where everything had just happened in a flash. We're looking at the world from God's perspective, where there's no past, present, and future anymore. St. John Chrysostom said this. During the liturgy, one of two things happen. He said it, one of two things, and he said, I don't know which one. Either heaven descends on earth, or earth ascends to heaven. One of those two things happen. But when we are in the liturgy, we are where? In heaven. And I think one of the litanies say عندما نصبح كالقيام في السماء. عندما ايه؟ Help me out. عندما نقف قدام هيكلك المقدس نحسب كالقيام في السماء. مش بنقولها في القطعة برضه؟ صلاة القطعة في الأجبية. As we stand in your holy sanctuary, we are considered standing in heaven. We are in heaven. Anyways, just a little flavor. Every now and then I want to give you a little flavor on the liturgy and how the liturgy is actually confirming our theology. As a matter of fact, we get our theology from the liturgy. All right, let's move on. A little video break. Do you know who this guy is? John Lennox. Not John Lennon, but John Lennox. Okay? He's a world-renowned scientist. I love this man. He's a comedian, funny, but he's a great, great, great apologist and great thinker, great philosopher. He's a mathematician and a philosopher. Philosopher of science and professor of mathematics at Oxford University. And he's discussing the question of